Well, a very, very, very happy Thursday and welcome to the throw-in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. My name is Justin, and we are here for 2 hours, and we got a couple of things that we got to talk about and get ready. I know it's an afternoon, and we'll get down to it. Take you guys up until 8 o'clock here on a Thursday afternoon, and let's get down to the breaking news, which was. I received the message earlier this afternoon, and it has been confirmed that the center fielder for the Cincinnati Reds and Nick Senzel will be making his 2023 debut this year. And it is, I think it needs to be, it's nice to add an extra right-handed batter in that lineup on a nightly basis. It helps out. I didn't look into it. I think that's one thing that I'm going to look into now. Let's look into this now. I think this is a little exciting. They're going to get ready to kick off against the Philadelphia Phillies. And let me look at the transactions. So from earlier today, Nick Senzel was going to be in the lineup for today. So what's the transactions look like? And everything takes a minute to load on here on the screen. But I think this is a good movement, especially when it comes down to right-handed batters. We have right-handed pitcher Bailey Falter up. So Will Benson is going to be optioned down to the minor leagues to Louisville, while we will have Nick Senzel be brought up to the main roster tonight. So for Will Benson, he's had 20 at bats, and he's had one hit, and he's batting 50. And I'm okay with that. On base percentage is below a 1, and his OPS is 1.145. And so send Benson down. Senzel comes up. Here's although Benson's a left-handed hitter, you have a right-handed hitter. And I think now you just kind of throw in the whole ideal standpoint of, all right, we got righty-lefty matchups. We got Will Myers in right field, if not in first base. We have, we will see either Jake Fraley in left field, and then what we'll see is either, depending if there's a right-hander out there or a left-hander out there, we will see Nick Senzel or TJ Friedl. And I think this is a good midway through the season, because I think out of all the players that we were following so far that began either on the IL or on the or down in the minors, Nick Senzel was one of those key guys that was down there in Louisville getting his at bats in. And now I guess we're just waiting for, Joey Votto, I believe, right? Let me relook that up, you guys. Because the lineup is here and it's set for this afternoon. And by the way, the Reds are coming back home after getting swept by the Braves, and we'll talk about that here in a moment. But they're going to get a chance to take on the Philadelphia Phillies in a 4-game series. Now, remember, the Philadelphia Phillies series last weekend didn't really quite go our way. We avoided a sweep by picking up a victory on Sunday, and then we ended up going for a sweep again. So let me see how this lineup is going to work. So tonight's lineup, we have Jonathan India leading off, batting DH. Spencer Steer, Stuart Fairchild in left field, which he's another good additional name up on the roster. Tyler Stevenson batting cleanup in first base. Will Myers will be out on the right, and then Nick Senzel will slide into that 6th spot, playing center field tonight. We'll have Kevin Newman at second base, Kurt Casale doing the catching behind the plate, and Jose Barrero. By the way, this all relates back to, I think, what we talked a little bit about yesterday. And David Bell said, all right, we're going to finally start transitioning the Tyler Stevenson situation, and he's going to get a lot more reps at either first base or as a designated hitter. And we saw that as soon as yesterday hit as our designated hitter. So some kicking off the show with some pretty interesting news. We're here for 2 hours this afternoon from 6 to 8, and we're going to get you guys ready for the Reds and the Phillies, game 1 of a 4-game series that begins tonight. Now, hey, listen, we knew it was going to be a tough battle when it came down to heading over to Philadelphia and when it came down to heading over to Atlanta. And it was a tough pill to swallow. I would have liked to see the Reds picked up a victory yesterday, but was one thing that was interesting out of the entire picture, right, is that we got a chance to we've seen some really promising things. And yesterday I went on this rant about bullpen, how they need pitchers, and I don't know what their plan to resolve this will be over the next few weeks. But I feel like if they don't get pitchers in, especially in that bullpen, is that our starting rotation is going to get burned out very quickly. All right. I mean, I understand that there is, you got to remember, there is a high expectation that even non-Cincinnati Reds fans, all right, there's high expectations across the league that our 3 guys, especially Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, are achieving and going out there every 5 days, giving you 6-7 innings of scoreless ball game. And although that sounds dandy, I feel like it's a lot to ask of these starting 5, especially when for one, all right, the next 4 or 5, and I hate to say this, but the next 4 and 5 guys in the rotation will be lucky to give you anything positive. And on top of that, your bullpen has already shown numerous of times throughout this season, it's the reason why they come in to today's game 4-7, that they can't hold down a ball game. We've seen this all throughout the series with the Atlanta Braves, where the Reds battle it in, and it comes to the 8th and 9th inning, and just like last night, Buck Farmer gives up a home run and cost the Reds a game, avoiding to be swept. And it's a tough pill to swallow. And I get it. You begin the first road trip 1-5 on the season, and you're coming into tonight's game 4-7. And here's the rule of thumb, right? You should always be playing, greater than 500 baseball at home, but then you should also be playing at least 500 baseball on the road. And they're getting off to a very, very terrible start. Like, it's bad, right? And a lot of it is thanks to the starting pitcher that the Reds had, to the bullpen, excuse me. And if you expect the three key guys, right, the three-headed monster that Hunter Green mentioned back on opening day, that this Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft, if you're expecting them to go give you 6-7 shutout innings, then you're wisely mistaken. We're going to have a tough season, aren't we? And right now, we have to tip our caps to that starting rotation, because it seems like every day you get nervous, right? You're just waiting for that moment. We're only on April 13th. We haven't even reached Saturday to Jackie Robinson Day, right? And we're already asking ourselves, all right, are we, when is that day is going to snap and we're going to get one of our starters not even make it out of the first inning? And, Luis Cessa and Connor Overton, they're holding their ground. They're holding their ground fairly so far this season. And I'm very impressed from what Connor Overton and Luis Cessa is doing. But I still tell you, and I still plead, that Luis Cessa should be the one coming out of the bullpen 2-3 days a week to help this rotation. Luke Weaver, if and when he comes back up, and Luis Cessa goes to the bullpen. And until I think Brandon Williamson is ready to come up to the majors, then you keep Connor Overton right there. Now, we mentioned this yesterday, and this is kind of leading into this series. We got a 7-game homestands we'll talk about here before the ball game, and we'll get you the lineup and the pitching, rules and around the league and whatnot, and all that good stuff before the ball game, which is about to be at 6:40 in about 20 minutes, 30 minutes from now. And, but I said this yesterday, the idea of maybe alternating, and have Hunter Green at 1, Nick Lodolo at 3, and Graham Ashcraft at 5. And the reason, and you throw in Luis Cessa at 4 and Connor Overton at 2 or something like that, is to spread out the days that the bullpen has to stretch out. But it seems to me that even on a good day, even when our rotation could give you 6 solid innings, that the 7th, 8th, and 9th, guys coming out of the bullpen can't keep a scoreless inning going. You can only stack so much on Derek Law, and there's just when we hit the bullpen, it's like, what are we doing? What's going on? I'm concerned, aren't we not? So it is definitely frustrating right now to be a Reds fan, because we have the rotation, we have the offensive power, and hopefully Nick Senzel, which I'm excited about, coming back for this weekend, this Philadelphia weekend, for a 4-game series. And I think this is a big homestands kicking off in the middle of April, a big homestands. You think about this, all right? They were 3-2 heading on the road. 3-2 going to Philadelphia. Then now they're 4-7 coming back home. All right. They're going to have Philadelphia, which we hope to turn things around. They're also going to have to take on Tampa Bay, who, by the way, just beat the Boston Red Sox again, advancing to 12-0. 13-0. 13-0. That's how ridiculous it is, right? And we just wonder, all right, I don't want to be stuck heading into Tampa Bay before we have to go out to Pittsburgh in a position where we are just going to suffer. So I don't know. We have a lot of things to answer and a lot of questions that lurk the Cincinnati Reds into the second homestands. but they get ready to take on the Philadelphia Phillies, and we'll talk a lot more about that in our upcoming segment. All right, so what do we have in tonight's afternoon show? I know it's in a kind of an odd schedule based in, but we are having a show from 6 to 8 tonight. Thank you guys for watching. I want to give you, MLB has reported out the top minor league team, top minor leagues from each organization. And I wanted to kind of review the NL Central, and I'll show you where we get the concerning factor leading into the minor league squads. Also want to go ahead and give you a roundup of the NL Central, and then also the NBA play-ins continue, as we will go ahead and give you the games that are scheduled out for tomorrow. We're wrapping up a week. We got today and we got tomorrow, a lot of things going on. And we're also wanting to talk a little bit about WWE and particularly in AEW. Okay? Jeff Hardy makes his return. And I think that we need to have an open conversation about that. And also something I'm going to be bringing back up. CM Punk is right now lurking the news around AEW and a possible in-ring return. And is that warranted? I want to get your opinions and your thoughts. All right, we got a good 2 hours heading up to you. Let's take our first time out of the evening. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, I want to thank you. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to have those notifications on. And don't forget to tune in and comment down below, get them part of the conversation. If you guys are watching us from Facebook and on Twitter, we thank you. Hit that like button, share with a friend. Let them know that, hey, we are live tonight up until 8 to hop on in. And if there's sports questions, thoughts, or concerns, let me know down in the comments, and we'll be able to talk about that on tonight's program. If you guys are listening, downloading our episode and taking us on the road with you wherever you go, we want to thank you and welcome you guys in. Without any of this, without you guys, none of this here is possible. So we're just getting underway. 2 hours here on the program. The throw-in here. You guys are listening right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. There we go. 6:21 here on the program. I want to welcome everyone back to the Throwing on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I thought I changed everything coming back in from break, but apparently I didn't. Alrighty. Well, I want to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studios, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where you can create your podcast, videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. All thanks to StreamYard.com. Check out their free version today. My hair don't look all that presentable for the program. And it's been nice and warm out there, hasn't it? Lower 80s. It's kind of at the stage where you don't want to leave, but you don't want to leave your house. And I'm actually at the midpoints because we live on the top floor, and at night it's been nice and cool, but what happens is that heat rises, and living on the third floor, it gets pretty hot, especially in the afternoons. I have my curtain closed because it's the sun just blares right in here, especially into the studio area. And so, I really I'm not used to it. I've been out a few times today, did some chores, had to take out the trash, and I would be reminisce of saying that it was pretty nice and warm today, and that's how it's been all week. And tomorrow I'm planning on taking the girls out to the park. Want to practice with the oldest. She has softball on Saturday. The youngest has soccer, back-to-back events on Saturday. So a busy weekend ahead of us as we get midst of April. So let's talk about the Cincinnati Reds as they have to get prepared to face the Philadelphia Phillies in the next for the next 4 games. And as I mentioned, the six? Yeah, 6-game series that the Reds had on the road, I knew it was going to be tough. You go into Philadelphia on their home opening weekend, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be rock hard. And boy, did the Phillies give it to the Reds. Now, the good news is that we stayed alive, and we were able to muster up an Easter Sunday victory. And I hope that carried into Atlanta, to be honest, because it would be nice to take the series against the Braves, a team that won their division last year, right? And then we take on, but then we fall short. And the first thing I wanted to do was we got to win Wednesday. We got to win last night. Because if we win last night, we have the momentum and some good energy leading into tonight's game at Great American Ballpark. And like I mentioned, there were some good things out of the game. We lost 5-4, but Hunter Green went 6 innings, giving up 3 runs on 7 hits and punched out 10 guys. This is what our ace is set out to be, is to go 6-7 innings, giving up giving up 3 runs. I feel it's given out of any solid pitcher. And you think that, all right, if the starting pitcher gave up 3 runs, we earned 4, we were in the position to win the game when Buck Farmer gives up a home run and an inning's worth of work, picking up the loss yesterday, 5-4. TJ Friedl goes 3 for 4. And yes, we haven't saw a whole lot from Stuart Fairchild. We haven't saw a whole lot from Will Benson, and hopefully that gets changed around, because of Nick Senzel coming up. But it's kind of hard because you have to read between the lines. You have to look between the cracks. At the end of the day, we sit here and we judge based off of a win-loss record. We judge the Reds based off of what their record is right now, and coming into today's game against the Phillies, they're 4-7. Now, we're going to also say the same thing about Philadelphia because they're 4-8, and they're like, well, this should be as easy of a matchup as it should be. But because the Phillies just a week ago took 2 out of 3 at Citizens Bank Ballpark, there is some concerns, right? I mean, I would reminisce if there wasn't a concern for me, but I am concerned. And I shouldn't be concerned heading into this series. But guess what? I am, because we couldn't pick up a victory against Atlanta. Now, it's interesting because Nick Lodolo, we're going to see Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft. We're also expecting to see Luis Cessa and Connor Overton Saturday and Sunday. So if you think about this, if the Reds could play the top baseball that they're playing now and maybe a little work and adjustment from the bullpen, we could easily see the Reds take 2 of 4. But you're asking a lot for the Redlegs to come through. But this is also a chance to bounce back. You know, I was looking at the standings in the Central, and then I guess this is where I want to get to here. We looked at the standings in the Central so far, and we see Milwaukee lead 8-4, Pittsburgh 7-5, Chicago 6-5, St. Louis 5-7, and then Reds are down last 4-7. Think about an easy 2-3 game victory out of 4 this weekend. Can easily get you back to 500, if not a shy for 500 baseball, especially heading into Tampa Bay, currently right now 13-0 to begin the season. Isn't that crazy? Just to think about 13-0 to begin the season. What type of spinach are they eating? I want some of that. That means they have not lost since March 30th. And we're already completed 2 weeks of baseball. Now, I don't know. I think Tampa Bay is off today. Let me pull it up here. I got all these apps open, ready to go. Tampa Bay is off. As a matter of fact, Tampa Bay was the one who won today, beat the Red Sox 9-3. And Tampa Bay has to face in this 3-game series over the weekend in Toronto. Now, there is a chance, because I don't want to jinx anything for Tampa Bay, but there is a chance that they drop one of the games against Toronto. But I'm definitely all in and all for a team like Tampa Bay to go as far as they can. So, but that's what we have to look up against, and I'm a bit nervous. I'm a tad nervous. So, where does things start? It starts tonight. It starts with Tampa Bay, and it starts with Nick Lodolo. Nick Lodolo comes into tonight's game 1-0 with a 1.50 ERA. He's going to be taking on Bailey Falter, who's 0-1 with a 2.61 ERA. And I think that is good enough for me to sit here and say, all right, let's go ahead and get this ball rolling. We got to get rolling at some point, right? And this is the perfect series to do it, because 4 games against Philadelphia, 3 games against Tampa Bay, and then we head back on the road against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And the last thing I want to do is go to Pittsburgh well under 500, because we just saw Pittsburgh. They're in second place right now. I know this is early April, but we mentioned to you guys how every ounce matters, and that's true. Let's get to the starting lineup for the Cincinnati Reds. Just while we're here and before game time, which is in about 90 minutes, you guys go listen to this game on 700 WLW or Bally Sports Ohio. Leading things off is the designated hitter, Jonathan India. Spencer Steer is batting second at third base. In left field, batting third is Stuart Fairchild. Tyler Stevenson will be batting cleanup. He'll be at first base. Will Myers in right field. He'll be batting fifth. Batting sixth is the call-up today and getting his 2023 debut is Nick Senzel. He'll be out there in center field. Kevin Newman will be playing second base, and he'll be batting seventh. Kurt Casale will be doing the catching behind the plate, batting eighth, and Jose Barrero will be batting ninth at shortstop. That is India, Steer, Fairchild, Stevenson, Myers, Senzel, Newman, Casale, Barrero is your starting lineup for the Cincinnati Reds. For the Philadelphia Phillies, pitching. Got to talk about pitching. They got Bailey Falter, who's back at it again. He's 0-1 with a 2.61 ERA. 2 games and 2 starts, 10 and 1/3 inning, giving up 5 strikeouts with a 1.06 whip. Last game he pitched was actually back on the 8th, which was Saturday, against the Cincinnati Reds, where he went 5 innings, giving up 4 hits, 1 run, 2 strikeouts. And that's one thing that is glorious about facing a pitcher within that short period of time. He's still fresh in your mind. You can make an adjustment. I think for batters, you can make that adjustment more than a pitcher can make an adjustment to 9 batters in a row. And you get a chance to redo the wrong in the loss that you had on Saturday. So that's just about game time coming up here at Great American Ballpark. We'll be keeping tabs on that throughout the evening, throughout the remainder of the program. Well, listen, we're not the only division going on around here. We have a couple other, we have the entire National League Central to look out for. As of yesterday, the Cardinals beat the Rockies 7-4. Milwaukee dropped to the Diamondbacks 7-3. The Pirates got shut out by the Astros 7-0. The Mariners beat the Cubs 5-2. So that is, if I'm not mistaken, all but the Cardinals have lost their game, which is a good notion because heading into today, Reds begin the series at 6:40 with the Phillies. Pirates and Cardinals 7:45 in a 3-game series out there in St. Louis. And Milwaukee headed over to San Diego, first pitch 9:40 against those Friarly Padres. So that is what's going on around in the NL Central. And like I said, the standings for the Cincinnati, for the NL Central. The interesting standings here for the Phillies, they are in 4th place because in the NL East, we have the Atlanta Braves leading 9-4. 7-6 record for the New York Mets. Miami is 6-7, and Washington is 4-9 after losing at the Los Angeles Angels yesterday afternoon. First road trip of the season was 1-5 versus the Phillies and the Braves. 4 games against the Phillies, 3 games against Tampa Bay before they head back on the road. For the Phillies, they will be in Chicago against the White Sox after this series. So we'll get you a little bit more around the horn as that comes. So stay tuned. All right. So when we come on back, what I want to do is share with you a list that I have here for Major League Baseball did an article here. Is each organizations in the NL Central with most stacked minor leagues teams. All right. So when we come back, we'll give you a breakdown of what's the number 1 minor league team for each team in the NL Central, kicking things off with the Milwaukee Brewers. All right, heading to the bottom of the hour right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
know the next morning when the sun goes up, it might be the last day of you and me. You're lying next to me with heavy eyes while I shiver inside with a heavy heart. I know what I
6:39 here on the program. Thank you guys for tuning in to the throw-in.
let it go. If I could, I would turn back time if I could.
And I hope where everyone's at, if you guys are at work, if you guys are coming home from work, if you guys are just relaxing and wanting to hear about some sports, you guys are coming to the right place. Taking you guys up until 8 o'clock here on the throw-in. Just last few adjustments here. So the topic that I wanted to address to you this afternoon, okay? Hour number 2, we're going to talk heavily about wrestling, because a couple of things. There's a couple of stories that I still had, and this time more leaning towards NXT and AEW, especially about the return of Jeff Hardy last night on Dynamite. But there's a couple of questions that in Major League Baseball, teams are not just as good as the 26-man roster that come out and play 150, 152 games. There's a lot more to it. There's AAA, there's AA and single A and high A and low A and, all that stuff. And it's exciting. I think minor league baseball is an excitement to what is potentially given. And the Cincinnati Reds talk a lot about the minor league, system, because there's a lot of guys like Matt McLean, Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Brandon Williamson, Lyon Richardson, who are expected to be the future of this organization. And you would almost hope that if your ball club is not where they should be or where you want them to be, and I think, if you're asking me as a fan, I want them playing, baseball contending for October. Excuse me, sorry. But if that's not your expectation, then I think you're not a true baseball fan. But if your team, if your team's not playing to that standard, to that expectation, then you hope that your farm system down below can, what do you want to call it? Has enough players or potential players to come up, and you hope that among rankings that your minor league system, your farm system, is just that much better. So, because not all 30 ball clubs can sit here and spend $200-300 million on players and say, all right, we're going to put together this staff like the San Diego Padres, we're going to go out and win a World Series. No. And a lot of times, a lot of teams are going to have to build from within. And that is drafting players, that is developing players, and that is watching talent grow up through the minor league system. And so with the Cincinnati Reds, we kind of hope that this is the scenario. But let's take a look at just the minor league teams for each team in the NL Central so far. We start off with the Milwaukee Brewers. And their best minor league team right now is the AA Biloxi Shuckers. And this is an article. Let me read up, give credit where credit's due here for a moment. written by Jim Collis, Sam Dykstra, and Jonathan Mayo. And they're listing out why each team, each minor league system is that the best. And about the Milwaukee Brewers, they said any game featuring Jackson Chourio is worth tuning in for. Fresh off of being named to the MLB Pipeline All Defensive Team, Jefferson Carrero heads to the Shuckers for his Double-A debut. And Tyler Black, the 2021 33rd overall pick, who's proven he can hit when healthy, adds additional length to the lineup. Those who love elite velocity should also be keen to watch Abner Uribe appearances out of the Biloxi bullpen now that knee injuries appear to be in his rearview mirror. And so basically they're saying that for the Milwaukee Brewers right now, the hottest minor league team is their Double-A team. And these, you got Jackson Chorizo, you got Jefferson Carrero, you got Tyler Black, and let's not forget about Abner Uribe's appearances out of the bullpen, offense, pitching, and you have yourself a Double-A team that over the next, I say, 2 to 3 seasons, it'd be worth coming up. And now, I think that one thing that's fair to say about all these teams is that you have to be willing to give these young guys an opportunity at performing in growing and seeing these young guys develop, something that the Cincinnati Reds have to do and are eager to do. And there's a lot of players, there's a lot of people. Let me put it to you this way. There are a lot of people out there that will not give these young guys that come up and make their debut because, as a matter of fact, there's a lot of people that don't give these minor league players an opportunity. And I get the whole understanding. It's until they come up to the major leagues, they're really nobody. They're, you can get all excited about them all you want. We get to sit here until we're blue in the face about Christian Encarnacion and how much we like Ellie De La Cruz and how much we enjoy watching Brandon Williamson go every 5 days out there on the mound. But until they make it to the big leagues, until they see those tough batters and get out of these jams, they're really nobody. They haven't made it anywhere. Okay. And until you make it to the big leagues, until you see that you're on that 26-man roster and you get that outing, it's hard because a lot of people overlook them. Moving on to the St. Louis Cardinals, because their favorite minor league team right now is the Memphis Redbirds in AAA. Mason Wins and Gordon Gracefo joined AAA for the first time and will have plenty to prove in the International League before truly pushing to the majors. Matthew Liberatore is a Memphis Redbird for his third straight campaign as he tries to elbow his way back into the Cardinals' rotation. Elsewhere, last year's minor league home run leader Moses Gomez brings his signature power back to AAA, while off-season addition Guillermo Zuniga can help the loud tools coming with the AAA triple-digit heater. And here's what I'm going to say, because we'll go on to the AA for the Chicago Cubs and Tennessee Smokies. But here's one thing that I want to point out. It's interesting reading these passages that MLB writers are submitting in their belief, because for the longest time, the St. Louis Cardinals has been one of those teams who you don't see, no matter who they throw out there, whether it's guys that you don't know or veterans like Albert Pujols, you know what they're capable of putting all together. And although they're starting the season off, second to last place in the first 2 weeks, 162 games is pretty far away, and it's kind of interesting just to see where, now we have a baseline. These are minor league ball clubs from each division here in these are minor league ball clubs in each division that we expect to have a good season. Now we can follow back on. All right, moving on with this list here that we have for minor league teams. The Chicago Cubs have Tennessee Smokies, their Double-A affiliation. Several players who won the 2022 Midwest League Championship at High A South Bend have made the jump up to Tennessee, headlined by outfielder Pete Crow Armstrong, the club's top prospect and the consensus best defender in the minors. Jordan Wicks, Ben Brown, Daniel Palencia, and Porter Hodges gives the Smokies a formidable rotation. Owens Cassie offers some of the best raw power in the system, and Miguel Amaya had a strong spring as he puts 2021 Tommy John surgery further behind him. The Chicago Cubs are another highly named, even though they have a Double-A minor league looking to win it all this year, just like they did last year at High A level. They're growing. And one thing to take note and to take interest off of the off of the Chicago Cubs and all these other minor league teams is that you sit here and, maybe a guy or two doesn't work out for the organization based off of the timeline that the organization has, and they're looking to get a couple guys back in the result of a trade a couple years down the road. Pittsburgh Pirates have Indianapolis Indians for AAA, where the Pirates' deep system is spread throughout the levels, but a stop in Indianapolis should provide a good return on our investments. There are 8 members of the top 30 in AAA, including top 100 prospect Indy Rodriguez and Quinn Prester. 5 of the top 10 are at the highest level of the minor leagues, though Mike Burrows is currently sidelined with an elbow issue. Now, the Pittsburgh Pirates are notorious for flipping guys, bringing them up, making a name, and then trading them at the very, I would say, last second, right? So, my point is, and it's just going to get right down to the Cincinnati Reds, because the Reds are, their strongest minor league team is the Single-A Daytona Beach Tortugas. Wherever Ellie De La Cruz is wherever the best team is. And the problem that lurks right now, I think, is the most scary part in all of the Reds organization right now. This is a squad that is expecting to have 5, 6, 7 guys right now in the minors come up through to the big leagues, being able to make a name for themselves in guys like Ellie De La Cruz, Christian Encarnacion Strand, Noelvi Marte. We have Mac McLean as well thrown into the mix. And this is a group of guys that we were strongly felt about. Now, to see, I feel a little bummed out the fact that our Single-A team among the rest of the division is the only strengthened team in all of our minor league squads. And I know a lot of it has to play and portray because of injuries, but it doesn't really help, especially with what's going on right now in the major leagues. And you almost have to say and ask yourself, all right, what's going on? What are we trying to do here, and how can we get better? Because we can't finish dead last in all the division. and everything. So, all right. So I've been seeing a couple of comments down below. All right, and I want to get to them. Motor Torque Wrestling. All right, he made some before the bottom of the hour concludes. I want to, because this is going to be a subject at the top of hour number 2. All right. Motor Torque Wrestling mentions, we all knew Punk was coming after Forbidden Door. But end of the day, I just got this funny feeling AEW Access is going to show Punk in May. We don't know how many episodes it is. Okay. He also says, then after appearing on AEW Access next Dynamite, he returns with FTR. Okay. Interesting thought. Okay, so the way I'm going to say this in hour number 2 is with all due respect to CM Punk. Does it make a difference however AEW decides to bring him back? No. Do I want him to come back? Not technically. He doesn't jump out to me as one of those guys, whether it's on Access TV, whether it's on Dynamite, whether it's on Rampage, or even if it's on a pay-per-view, that he's worth enough spending my hard-earned cash to go watch. I will go watch someone like MJF. I will go watch someone like FTR. Of course, CM Punk in the mix, he doesn't sell that many more tickets. And maybe people will get upset about this, but my honest opinion about Punk is that, he came back. He accomplished becoming AEW World Champion. Injuries got the best of him. And this is, AEW do not have a desire of having Punk back in their roster. Or even, I wouldn't touch him with the 10-foot pole in that sense. He just doesn't deserve the time of day. Not saying that he is not a Hall of Famer in my books, not saying that, to discredit what he was done, the entertaining performances he's done back in the day, but just like maybe Jeff Hardy in this sense, there are some athletes that try to make a comeback and utterly fails, and this is a huge and big key one of them. So I'm excited. Thank you to insight, and I'll talk a lot more about it in hour number 2. Kicking off in hour number 2 of the program, we'll talk about the NBA play-ins, and I want to talk to you guys about Enlighten Studios and what they have upcoming in our near future. Hour number 1's complete. Stay tuned. Hour number 2 coming up here next. You guys are listening to The Throw-In on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
About to leave, already packing. Come with me, I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get away, this is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me. Let's go, let's be free with me. Race on the freeway, Bonnie and Clyde. A classic cliche, we're on the run. This is what we waited for. Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free.
I know we only met just now, and I don't wanna freak you out, no. But baby, all I think about is you and me up in a tree, yeah. You whisper something.
Hour number 2 is given to you thanks to
The only
Spreaker.
thing I wanna hear, oh, you tell me that you
Create your own podcast. Upload your episodes to Spreaker.com. Get all the analytic breakdowns and analysis, plus be able to monetize your own performance and distribute your audio platform across all major sources such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and much more. Check out Spreaker.com from iHeartRadio for more information.
Don't be shy, stay the whole night, 'cause we gotta get a vibe.
Alrighty, hour number 2 here, and a couple things that we want to get underway. All right. Right now, the Reds and Phillies, top of the second, tied at 1. As they just got underway. So we'll kind of pay attention to that as the nights roll through. Right. And we'll come back here on Friday and wrap up a showcase for you guys. Couple things I want to talk about first, because we don't do a lot of TLC on this program. Want to thank Canva for making the presentations as well as our commercial breaks. Canva, you can do a lot of great things, making personal ads, videos, movies, whatnot. Did a lot of production with the Lighting Studios over the last couple of weeks with them. Thanks to Canva. Go check them out, canva.com. They even got a free version. Okay. If you guys like the program, we would like to invite you guys out to buy some of our merchandise. We got t-shirts, mugs, blankets, tapestries, notepads, hoodies, stuff like that, tank tops. If you guys want, head on out to our tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk today and pick up your favorite gear, or scan the QR code here that's on the screen to take you straight to our page. All right, and lately we've been working with Cincinnati with Light Studios, and they got upcoming festivals headed our way. 2023 Cincinnati Festivals down on the levee by Newport. It's on the Ohio River. Lighting Studios wants you guys to come out and volunteer. Show your support by volunteering today. 3 festivals coming up here in the month of June and July. We would like you guys to head on out and sign up and get your signups today. June 8th through the 11th is the Italian Festival, the Taco Festival from June 23rd to the 25th, and the Celtic Festival from the July 14th through the 16th. Volunteers needed thanks to Enlightened Studios. You volunteer with us and you keep your tips. Sign up today by emailing enlightenedstudios.cincy@gmail.com. And while you're at it, head on over to Facebook and follow Enlightened Studios for more future information down the road. Exciting to promote that there and all that fun stuff. All right, so this is how it's going to go down. We haven't gotten a quite chance to talk about the NBA and the playoffs and what's coming your way. The tables have been set as the Chicago Bulls and the Oklahoma City Thunders both advanced in victories last night. The play-in will wrap up on tomorrow. Tomorrow, tip-off starts at 7 p.m. with the Chicago Bulls and the Miami Heat. And right after, we'll see Oklahoma City Thunders taking on Atlanta Hawks at 9:30. Game 1's on TNT. Games 2 is on ESPN. Can then come on back Saturday for 4 games, while Brooklyn and Philadelphia will square off at 1 on ESPN at 3:30. Atlanta Hawks and Boston Celtics also on ESPN. And then the final game on ESPN on Saturday will be the New York Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers and then the nighttime game at 8:30 on TNT is Golden State Warriors taking on Sacramento Kings. And then you stop on by Sunday for some more NBA playoff action. At 3 p.m., we'll have the Lakers and the Memphis Grizzlies. At 5:30, we'll have the winners of the Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat on Friday take on Milwaukee Bucks at 5:30 on TNT on Sunday. The first game, Lakers and Memphis, that's on ABC. At 8 p.m., we'll have the Clippers on the road against the Phoenix Suns, available on TNT. And at 10:30 tonight on Sunday night, TNT, the Denver Nuggets will either host the Oklahoma City Thunders or the Atlanta Hawks. So playoff action is in full swing. We'll give you the bigger rundown tomorrow as we conclude our week in sports. All right. I thought maybe that would take a little longer than normal. So this is what I want to do. Let me see what else I have going on here before I get into professional wrestling. Tomorrow, we are currently 14 days away from the NFL draft for the Cincinnati Bengals, and we're still wondering, what are they going to pick? We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get closer next week, and an upcoming list, 5 Bengal players who we could see cut in 2023 after the NFL draft. That is still to come later on next week, actually. Kind of moment where you're kind of letting time fly by. It's a little hot here, starting to sweat. I don't know if you see it up here. Oh, I hate it. I hate being sweaty. Cause I sweat more than just in my head. Obviously, you got the pits, you got the hands that get all sweaty, the legs, the forearms, all of that. All right, let's dive into it. I'm ready. Are you guys ready? Professional wrestling action here. I don't feel that like this week we gotten a fair chance to talk about Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez as they became the new women's tag team championship. There, I said it. I feel like this tag team titles changing hands on Monday Night Raw got debunked thanks to Trish Stratus and her one is her heel turn, and two, with no disrespect to the females, we really got ourselves a very sloppy match. Like, and I mean sloppy. It was, I think, probably the worst match of the night. And I don't know, maybe this was put together last minute. Maybe they, went too far in the match of wanting to tell the stories. Maybe there were some botches because I really don't know why or where this came from. Other than the concept that I think I was a bit disappointed in seeing the outcome of the overall match between Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez and Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. So there's a couple of reasons why we were upset. But I think I was generally up, but we have to take the moment, all right? Although we could be upset, we have to take a moment and actually congratulate Raquel and Liv because we didn't give them the spotlight on our program like we expected to. Both females, first of all, this is Liv's title run from winning SmackDown Women's title, from after trying to go after the women's title again over a year ago. She's kind of been in the mix and in that title run. She's always, I would consider Liv Morgan one of those go-to talents that you can depend and rely on whenever you need something to happen, good or for bad, of the company. So I really enjoy everything that I see out of Liv Morgan. And then we go back to Raquel Rodriguez, where maybe this is a push. This is a push from her that dated back maybe to, honestly, the Royal Rumble, and especially the Elimination Chamber. Right? I don't know if she's going to be given many opportunities. And I ultimately feel that this tag team match could lean, we wonder, okay, who's going to, I still believe that at some point we'll see Ronda and Shayna captivate those titles at some point, because that's why they're in and week out, in my opinion. But right now, this is a temporary hold, and I almost feel like we shouldn't be seeing a temporary hold between Liv and Raquel. I really do feel like, and I hope that this is actually a long push and a decent run for these two females, because Raquel Rodriguez can definitely work on some stuff. But I feel like if Raquel Rodriguez is going to get over eventually at some point, then what we need to see is Raquel turn heel and turn against Liv Morgan to maybe become a potential candidate for a title at some point down the road. I'm telling me that this is only a temporary run. You take the titles off of Becky and Lita so that you can focus in on this Becky Trish feud. And at some point, Lita comes back and gets involved, because they don't need the titles. And that's one thing that was very interesting leading into WrestleMania, was why do you need to cost them? Why did they need to have the SmackDown Women's Championship heading into WrestleMania? If you're asking me, you could have kept the titles away from them, put Dakota Kai and Io Sky, have them replace Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green, to be honest, and have them for the SmackDown, have them for the titles in that fatal four-way match. Because trust me, listen, those females, they did a phenomenal job putting on an entertaining show. But if you want to ask, to me, a match that could have elevated itself from maybe a 2 to a 2.5 to a 3 and a 3.5, then you need to see, if you put the titles on the line and give them something to fight for, that's where I would say, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. right? So, and you could have still had Trish Stratus at some point turn her back, probably in a much better way than what we saw on Monday Night Raw. But nonetheless, we see two rising stars. Liv Morgan's been there, but like I said, she always fits in that title picture some way, shape, or form. We have we see Raquel Rodriguez, who I think deserves a push, needs a push, but in all honesty, I think she needs a bigger push, and this is a stepping stone for Raquel. She's had an impressive first half of the year. You put some sort of gold on her, you put her in a title match with a couple of females like Ronda and Shayna. I say within a year, maybe a year and a half time frame, you could see her in the bigger and better picture, and that is becoming a future champion. I do see a future champion in Raquel Rodriguez. If Liv Morgan could become a future champion, there's no reason why Raquel Rodriguez can't become a future SmackDown or Raw Women's Champion. So, congratulations to Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez. We hope that this is a longer run. We hope that you have yourself, have a few title defenses, maybe leading up to the Royal Rumble, where then, like I said, I still say that you go drop the titles to Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler once Ronda's healthy enough. But it was a good title run overall. And I felt that on Monday, because of the match being maybe overextended, sloppy, the way it ended, Liv and Raquel was quick and was rushed out of the ring so that we can see Trish turn on Becky. When you could have easily seen Trish walk away or kick Becky and then leave, where, that question still lurks, but it doesn't hover the main attention of the new champions being crowned, because I felt like a lot of it was being taken away from Liv and Raquel. And I think, especially for Raquel, this is a huge moment because this is her first title in the WWE up at the main roster. So to see something like that, I felt like there was a lot that was given and taken away from these two respected females. So congratulations to them. We got to talk about NXT because Carmelo Hayes finds his first opponent for his title defense at Spring Breakin. And Braun Breaker idolizing this new heel turn move. Goes ballistic on Chase U. And I actually like this Braun Breaker. And we'll talk all about that here coming up next. You guys are listening to The Throwing on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. going on, everyone? Justin here from the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I want to give a big shout out and thank you to you, the listeners. That's right. Without you guys, none of this is possible. I would also like to take the time and invite you out to our merchandise page, thanks to T Public. Our merchandise page is where you can find all of our brandings from the Throw-In, which is currently active weekly, to the TNC Sports Talk official brands, to either the prior shows that was part of the TNC Sports Talk Foundation. Within all the brandings, you can select t-shirts in both men and female sizes, apparel such as hoodies, kids onesies, kids t-shirts, phone cases, notebooks, coffee mugs. They have a vast majority. This is why I love T Public. And right now, if you spend $80 or more, you get free shipping. And so we want to invite you out to our merchandise page by heading on over to tpublic.com/user/TNC-sports-talk, or even use the QR code up in the right-hand corner. We want to thank you guys again, the listeners, for supporting us, and we hope to see you guys out wearing our merchandise.
I'm ready waiting for you, baby. From the day we first met, and every second from that on, girl, you know you've held my poor heart captive.
Alrighty, 7:22 here on the Throw-In, taking you guys up until 8 p.m. tonight on this Thursday afternoon. We'll be back again Friday. Let's not forget about that. Give you a update as the Phillies and Reds, top of the third inning, tied at 1 apiece. All right, it's going to be interesting. In the last couple of weeks, we haven't talked too much about NXT or AEW, and that's really going to fulfill the remainder of our show this evening. So a lot of wrestling talk. I already got a couple of people in the comment section, so we thank you for leaving your comments down below. And definitely want to hear about what you guys have to say among all of this as we have these open discussions. Well, the first open discussion that I want to have is about NXT. And I think this is simple. You do NXT here, you do AEW at the end of the show, because I feel like there's a lot more of AEW talk that we can have. But the first conversation is that we are not waiting to get the number one contender spot for Grayson Waller, or for Carmelo Hayes, excuse me. And what I mean by that is Spring Breakin is coming up, and we will see Grayson Waller, who wins in a fatal four-way back on Tuesday night, take on Carmelo Hayes. Now, I think, here's my early question to you guys was who was going to win, who was going to step up to the challenge? Who was going to challenge and face? What was next with Carmelo Hayes? Because he's taken us on a pretty exciting adventure with the North American Championship. And he took us on an exciting adventure leading up to the NXT Championship. And maybe with how big Carmelo Hayes is, also how big Braun Breaker is, And by the way, Braun Breaker has ran this title for such long. It's hard to see who's capable of stepping up to the challenge. Now, there's a couple of people that I think are worthy enough to step up to Carmelo Hayes and give him a run for his money, especially at a crack at the NXT championship. And this is why we will say we hold off on, Carmelo Hayes being brought up. Now, the WWE draft is coming up, and we have no idea what is in store for the future. And who knows? We may very well see Grayson Waller tip off and become the new NXT champion after defeating Carmelo Hayes at Spring Breakin. But nothing's promised. Nothing's given, right? And so Grayson Waller comes to the challenge as the first challenge for Carmelo Hayes. Now, I would like to see, there's a couple guys on the list. Wesley, Dragon Lee, right? Ilja Dragunov, JD McDonough, good candidates for a future title opportunity, that not only for a future title opportunity, but a good opponent for Carmelo Hayes. And so, I mean, I'm a little surprised, if I wasn't, to be honest, a bit surprised to see Grayson Waller. Now, listen, Grayson Waller, there are 5 guys, including Grayson Waller, that deserves a title opportunity. And those were the 4 guys that competed and lost for the North American Championship at NXT Stand and Deliver. The other guy is Grayson Waller. So who else deserves a title opportunity for Carmelo Hayes in NXT? Nobody. I'm just trying to think. I think here's what's going to help me get my gears rolling here a little bit. It's talking about Braun Breaker. It's hard to boo a character that carried NXT for at least a year, if not more, right? 2 years almost. And instantly after he dropped his title, he goes on this back burner. Now, there's that gut feeling inside my stomach that just turns and swirls, saying that, okay, Braun Breaker has to be called up. He's done almost everything he can do in NXT. And I think it's time for him to be like, all right, let's call him up. We're just waiting for the draft. Now, you keep him on camera, and that's going to be a decision to make. Maybe you build this heel so that when he comes up to the main roster, that he's giving you like, all right, I'll give you that. Right? He's going to be a heel coming up to the main roster. Where I guess I am maybe at lost where this all plays in. Because, I mean, he had to carry NXT on his shoulders for quite some time. He was our NXT champion for quite some time. And I don't quite know right now where he potentially fits in to the main roster in WWE. And for me, right now, Braun Breaker is only one to go handle maybe bigger opponents. A guy like Bobby Lashley, a guy like Braun Strowman, maybe Drew McIntyre. But when we talk about Braun Breaker, and this is a huge if he's to be on the main roster, and I don't think that this is just a Vince McMahon move, although this is also a I would see this being a Triple H move also. He can sit there and go, he should be on Raw. He should be on Monday Night Raw because that's where he's going to be able to display a lot of his characteristics. Braun Breaker goes ballistic on Chase University back on Tuesday. And you know what? I say kudos to him. I tip my cap to Braun Breaker, all right, and a hand clapping motion for what he's doing. Because you know what? You need one of those guys every once in a while to say, all right, I don't like something, and I'm big, I'm bad, and I'm better than you. Yes, I lost against Carmelo Hayes, but guess what? I didn't lose cleanly. He lost because of the help of Trick Williams, right? Which was, Braun, how come you didn't get a, title defense, a rematch? Right? So Braun Breaker is being let loose. What else do you have for him, honestly? He's not in any title picture, although he could be. And if he's not in any title picture, how does he advance his career? Right now, it's about going out and just annihilating everyone and anything that gets in his way. I still personally strongly believe that Braun Breaker is someone who is waiting to be brought up to the main roster. And if Braun Breaker does not get added to this main roster come WWE draft, you're doing an injustice service to Braun Breaker. Now, this is where it gets a bit tricky because I don't want to see Braun Breaker come up, and I don't want to see Braun Breaker not have a storyline because WWE creative storylines don't have nothing for him. There's guys, and the first guy I think of is Bobby Lashley, to be honest. Right? That's the ultimate guy that I think, in my opinion, should be the first guy that he goes after. You take out one of the dogs, right? One of the big powerhouse guys, players. But right now, Braun Breaker is in NXT, and he's annihilated ever since he lost the title. And he's just he has full reins. He's in control of everything that he does, and it makes me like him just that much more. Because when was the last time that we've seen people come in and just destroy? Another interesting fact about Carmelo Hayes capturing the NXT title back at Stand and Deliver is that most guys who come back, who hold the title, are very fresh to the NXT picture. And they're very quick to capture that NXT gold. We're talking about guys like Drew McIntyre. We're talking about guys like Andrade. I'm just thinking here, talking about guys like Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe. I'm just trying to think of Karrion Kross. No. My point is that Carmelo Hayes has been around the block a few times. No, he's been around the block. He's captured other gold before coming up. And I think the only guy that I could resemble that has done that in the past has been Tommaso Ciampa, right? So this is how you know it's going to be a good title run. And I do hope that when it comes down to Grayson Waller. He's going to put up a really good match with Carmelo Hayes. I think this is going to be great for both men. It is Carmelo's first assignment after becoming champion. And we have a lot to look forward to in this title run. And I really don't think this is a small title run. And if so, it's hard to believe that Cameron Grimes could be the guy. If so, take the title off of Carmelo Hayes. Excuse me, I have to laugh at myself because I'm getting the names mixed up. It's hard to believe that Grayson Waller could be the guy to capture the title off of Carmelo Hayes. But it's interesting because as the story goes, when you look at Grayson Waller and his cockiness in NXT, what better way to have a heel title reign champion other than Grayson Waller, who will rub it in everyone's face saying that he beat Carmelo Hayes in the first title defense he had, and he was crowned the NXT champion. NXT will probably be so much on a backlash that it would be funny to watch. And there's no disrespect to Grayson Waller. He's an absolutely outstanding athlete. He's proved it in the ring from time and time again. So there's no doubt that we can't see Grayson Waller play an effect of being a title holder. I would honestly, and I know this is probably a crazy, bold prediction, Spring Breakin'. Have something happen, even if you got to rush it, and this is where the scenario I'd be okay with. Have Trick Williams cost Carmelo Hayes the title, put it on Grayson Waller, Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams in a couple weeks before, at some point, and then Carmelo Hayes jumps up to the draft or a free agency in the WWE. That's what I would like to see. All right, let's take our last break of the evening, and when we come on back, let's talk some AEW, because a return of a future Hall of Famer, as we also see conversations about CM Punk returning. We'll talk about all that next here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Alrighty. Bottom half of hour number 2, bottom half of the program. Let's finish off strong. I know this has kind of been almost a drilling program. We are giving thank you to Epidemic Sound. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com. I don't normally do shows from 6 to 8. Matter of fact, I did one a couple of weeks ago. Actually, last week. I'm not a big fan of them, to be honest. I don't like doing them. But we'll see how, it's what happens. It was actually a crazy day all day today, matter of fact, believe it or not. So, all right, let's finish off strong. Because I got some interesting things to come through. One of them is Jeff Hardy returns to say Matt Hardy. And I thought that this was interesting. So, first of all, how do you guys feel with with Jeff Hardy returning back to in-ring competition? Good answer. I feel like it's always good to see Jeff Hardy coming back to the in-ring performance. It's also a sad moment. Now, let me tell you this. These are, and I understand the whole wrestling concept, the industry. Jeff Hardy was another guy that I related to and I enjoyed watching night in and night out in WWE. The problem that I have with Jeff Hardy returning back to in-ring competition is two reasons. One of the reasons is that all the stuff that he's dealt with outside the ring with being sober and the DUIs and being arrested. And it just seems like every time he is time and time again, and by the time we get comfortable with seeing him, something changes. And I'm not comparing, I'm not judging him based off of what he's done outside what he's done outside the ring. I believe that Chris Benoit is one of the better athletes of this of all time. A matter of fact, although I will never agree to what he did outside the ring with his family, and I think that that's a fair statement to say, but Jeff Hardy, it's hard to get behind someone who has been publicly known to be given chances after chances after chances and still is incapable of capturing the opportunity of a lifetime. And there's been numerous of conversations about, let me go on this one final run. And somewhere down that line, that final run gets bolted and gets come to a halt because something that happened outside the ring. And that's what frustrates me the most with Jeff Hardy. In a wrestling world that we rely on our athletes to be in the ring each and every week for us, and that's how one is going to get behind you, it is difficult to get behind someone who is not in the ring because, it's one thing not to be in the ring because of injuries, or it's one thing not to be in the ring because of creativity in storylines, but it's another thing not to be in the ring because of personal drama in life. Whatever Bray Wyatt's going to, it is hurting his career and his standpoint. And I don't, whatever's going on, I wish him the best, and I think we would love to see him back. And I understand you got to take care of yourself first, but there's been a handful of fans that have turned around and said, I could care less for Bray Wyatt because of two reasons. One, creativity, and two, he apparently opted out of WrestleMania. I don't know the true story. And it's hard to believe, right? Which one's real, which one's not. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Jeff Hardy coming back. Now, I'm excited as a fan. I enjoy watching Jeff Hardy as a fan, and the potential notation that you can go out and become a fan, or not fan, but you could come back and make a return and a remarkable one. You could finally, hopefully, have this one final send off, and I would like to see that. And AEW is perfect, but it's like, for me as a fan, my time for Jeff Hardy has come and gone. My chances to giving him time and time again has come and gone. And that's the unfortunate of what he's done outside the ring. But there's an opportunity that we get to see the Form taking on the Hardy Boyz at AEW's Double or Nothing in May. And I would like to see both the Hardys one last time, right off into the sunset and have their final match, the send-off match. Just like Sting, at some point this year, will be having his retirement match. We don't know when, we don't know how, we don't know with who, but at some point, it's going to be his final match. And these are moments that, growing up watching Sting and TNA, growing up watching Jeff Hardy and the Hardy Boyz, and his WrestleMania ladder match stunts, going through the ladders with Edge, and going through a ladder with the Hardy, when Matt faces Jeff. Those are lifetime remembrance. These are Hall of Famers, but at some point, it's also enough's enough, because AEW has its fair share of mix of veterans and up-and-coming stars. Veterans, established stars, and upcoming stars. And I think that makes it quite even. Where then WWE maybe has maybe 1/10 of their roster with veterans, and 7/10 of the roster with established athletes, and then the rest with newbies, right? All I'm saying is that I like Jeff Hardy. I was excited to see him return last night on Dynamite. But there's nothing, it doesn't really intrigue me to say, oh, Jeff Hardy's back. I got to tune in each and every week to watch AEW. Now, when we get closer to time and understanding when Sting is retiring, yes, definitely watch it because of Sting. But does it make me want to buy the pay-per-view at Double or Nothing? These two men, the Hardy Boy, not really, to be honest. And I think I speak as a general fan. If you're a fan of the Hardys, you're a diehard fan of the Hardys, and you think of that spending $60 is worth watching the Hardys alone, then by all means. Just not me. But you know what? At the end of the day, it's good to see the Hardy Boyz back. Good to see the Jeff Hardy healthy and back again, doing what he does. The second thing I forgot to mention, I have to mention this before I move on to CM Punk, is that what troubles me is that every time he's out there in the ring, he looks like he's in pain. And when you're out there and you look like you're in constant pain, and I could see it through your face, and I could see that, W wrestling over the last 30 years has taken a toll on you. Like, man, just hang it up. Be healthy for you got kids at home. Be healthy for your kids. Not saying that you don't still got it, but I don't want the last match of your career to be one that disables you forever. And you really just don't know when that match is, to be honest. So, yes, I like Jeff Hardy coming back. I like how he teams up with Matt Hardy, and I think the future goes with the Hardy Boyz together because you start off with the Hardy Boyz, you finish off with the Hardy Boyz. And the other thing on the Hardy Boyz is that they're at the age where they need to rely on each other. I mean, Sting has played it so smart by being able to team up with Darby Allin and affiliate a lot of his storylines and a lot of his in-ring work among other talented, guys where he didn't have to rely on putting a one-on-one match together with somebody else. The Hardy Boyz are going to have to be that way, in all honest opinion. So, Jeff Hardy, thank you for coming back. We are excited. I can't wait to see what comes. But please do me a favor and be smart about this. And please do me a favor and, don't over-welcome yourself. Don't overstay. Come in, do what you want to do, get out, retire, call it whatever you want to do, and maybe take a different approach where you're not in the ring every single week or you're not even on television every single week. Make us actually cherish each and every moment you have. All right, the last topic that I have to talk about, I saved the best for last, and I'm a bit upset that we actually have to bring this topic up, but there's reports about CM Punk potentially seeing him back with AEW. Okay? He's done with the surgery. He's on rehab. I think he's almost done with rehab, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, by summertime, we could potentially see CM Punk in the ring if he needs to. Now, I don't see what benefits AEW for having CM Punk. What warrants CM Punk back into professional wrestling? All right? Let me not forget, not to discredit everything that Punk has done for the wrestling industry, for everything that he stood up for, even if it was spoon-fed to him back in the day. He has still left a legacy and an impact that changed the face of professional wrestling a decade ago. But listen, he's the one who chose that he was better than WWE, that he was going to go make more money in UFC, and that he was much better than UFC talent. Well, guess what? He didn't have such a career to remember. Matter of fact, he probably wished he didn't have that career at all. AEW last year, we saw a handhold of talent trying to come up, but been restrained from the guys like CM Punk and Jon Moxley. Two veteran guys that don't need a title on their hands to make a name for themselves. Two incredible athletes that depended on last year on this title to hold AEW afloat. Let me put it that way. I'm going to say that with all due respect, to hold AEW afloat. And I preached about this last year, and I'm going to preach about it again. CM Punk does not belong in the WWE. Now, listen, I'm going to give you, doesn't belong in professional wrestling world in general. Let me put it that way. Now, I'm not no professional wrestler. I don't know CM Punk. I don't know what he does in the ring. I'm surely what I can't do in the ring. All right, but this is no bells and whistles. AEW is a moving company. They are trying to grow talent, especially from within. That's what we're seeing this year in the championships. And I think it's time to start letting go. There was also a level of drama night in and night out with AEW every time CM Punk was on the match card. Whatever the case, whether it was a promo, whether it even was a commercial break. If it had to do with CM Punk being active on the roster, there was some sort of drama lurking. He reminded me, okay, and no disrespect to Trevor Bauer over there in Japan, but he reminded me of Trevor Bauer. He's a media curse. All right, he speaks his mind, which I appreciate, but what he speaks his mind does not recollect actual statements about what he needs to happen. He speaks his mind about opponents, think he's going to get somewhere, or he is the best of the best. Well, you know what? I beg to differ that he's not the best of the best. I'll put it out that way. CM Punk is not the greatest wrestler of all time. Okay? And at no point in his career, he was ever the greatest wrestler of all time. CM Punk is a good guy. CM Punk is a good athlete. All right? But he doesn't need to be in the WWE. He doesn't need to be in the WWE. He doesn't need to be in AEW. No one owes him anything. He's a future Hall of Famer as is, and leave it as that. He doesn't need to be this guy who attempts to go hold titles or to, he's proven himself. When he came back in 2021, he proven himself that he was capable of getting back in the ring and having a couple of matches. I thought it was cool that CM Punk went after the AEW world title and he captured the world title. Although I didn't think it was necessary, he did it. He accomplished it. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Injuries happen. I get that. I apologize. I don't know what you want me to do. I feel like I think it's a statement by the gods to tell you, hey, listen, yes, you're champion. You still got it, but you don't need to have that title around your waist. Give it to a guy like Wardlow. Give it to a guy like MJF. Let them go. Just enjoy it. But honestly, there's just so much drama and so much just shit that that CM Punk brings around that just has an aura around him. It's just an aura wherever he goes. There's just the pipe bombs with WWE, the stories about the bad relationships with the WWE, the UFC failures that he had. And let's not forget, then, everything would happen with AEW. Yeah, he had a great response, but then injuries after injuries, and he's not the top guy. I'm sorry to break it to you. He doesn't benefit nothing when he comes back. Right? Jeff Hardy benefits more out of the fans. There's more fans to go watch Jeff Hardy than CM Punk. There is nothing that CM Punk can do and come back that is like a holy shit moment. And you know what? You're going to get those fans. Well, no, he doesn't. CM Punk will sell merchandise. Maybe not at the top of the class. But CM Punk isn't hardly anything when it comes down to the industry of professional wrestling. At least in this generation. We've moved on from CM Punk. So I wanted him to stay as far away from professional wrestling as possible. Go home, retire. Be commentator. I don't care. Just don't get back in the ring, please. Please. Not until I'm ready. And I don't know when I'm going to be ready. All right, that's it for our show. 2 hours in the books. The Throw-In will be back again tomorrow. I want to thank everyone. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Be sure to press on the notifications. And until tomorrow to wrap up the week, thank you guys for listening to The Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Take care.